Hello and welcome to the Fit for Life podcast with your host, Alan Fitton. In this podcast, I will be covering fitness-related subjects and my experiences to do with nutrition, building muscle and weight loss to name a few, and how, above all, to keep fit for life.
Hello, we have a guest.
We do.
Round two. Yeah, so the new running thing with these now is that I'm forcing every guest to now have a drink. Wes has been really lucky today because I got, what's it called again? How do you pronounce it?
Chocomel.
Chocomel. Previous...
The one and only. We're not advertising it.
No, we're not. It does actually say the one and only too, actually,
It does.
to be fair.
I didn't just make that up.
You know, nourishing by nature. So I've never had this before. That's why I got it. And Wes has told me that it's actually quite a nice drink. So we're not here just to talk about chocolate milk for an hour. We're here to talk about, again, some of the subjects that we covered on the last one about mental health. So it is Mental Health Awareness Week this week.
That it is, yeah.
This wasn't really planned because of that, was it? It's just kind of fallen upon that. That keeps happening a bit lately, really. And the subject of this Mental Health Week is actually anxiety, which is what today's podcast is about. That's the topic we're covering, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it worked out quite well. Sadly, my piss poor planning would have been to have this done previously and to upload this for Anxiety and Mental Health Week, but that could be for future better planned Alan a bit further down the line. So this will be obviously weeks after, but an important topic that we cover. We both suffered from anxiety. So we're going to talk a little bit about what it is, our experiences with it, ways of countering it, the help you can get from it, and just educating and talking about the subject a bit more. So I'll let you hop into things, Wes. So what is anxiety?
So anxiety can be lots of different things, really. I mean, for me personally, it's more about like how you feel. It can stop you from doing everyday tasks. It can sort of even take over your life to a certain degree. Everyone's different and everyone handles anxiety differently. So it's just a case of sort of how that affects you. It can affect your mood, make you really irritable. It can make you really sort of even depressed where you don't want to do anything and sort of feel nothing. It can literally just take over a complete hold of your life and just take over completely. And it's sort of linked into a lot of mental health illness as well. So it can be linked to that. It can be linked to certain things that happen to you and that makes you anxious. So it can be a whole different ball game for every single person. So, it's such a vast and broad sort of thing. So, I think when me and Al sort of talk about how anxiety affects us, that'll sort of show you how different it can affect Al, how different it can affect me, and sort of the things that you can put in place to help yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it quite hard because in the medical profession, like usually you have an illness or you have an issue. There's one rule to that issue, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's one kind of, what do you call it? A symptom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which what makes this a completely different ball game and so hard to kind of detect and to know how to cope with and to try and cure or to try and help with it. I think that's what makes it so challenging. But obviously, through us being here and talking about our different experiences here shows that the different types of anxiety that you can get, and it may relate to you, and you might be like, well, actually, I feel a bit of that sometimes. I mean, you might not even thought that it could have been anxiety or that you've suffered from that. So that's what we're going to obviously be talking about today. So let's hop with yourself first. Obviously, ladies first, Wes. What anxiety have you been? Let's go into what you've been feeling as of late.
Yeah. So anxiety for me is a lot of people can have like sort of panic attacks, they can palpitations, they can sweaty, clammy. For me, it's all about breathing. So for me, my chest goes really tight and then my brain starts racing and I'm thinking, why am I feeling like this? What's caused it? Why do I feel like this? Which sort of intensifies it. And it just sort of comes and goes at any point. There's no sort of like, oh, this has just happened to me now and now I feel anxious. It just sort of hits me like out the blue. And this is going to sound really daft, but this works for me. So there's any sort of menthol sweet.
Really?
Yeah. Right. Menthol sweets, mate. So Jakeman's, other brands are available. But I always have Jakeman's on me. Yeah. I always have them on me, or Fisherman's Friends, or something like that, or even a pack of Airwaves, because the eucalyptus just opens up.
Do you reckon because of your tight chest that you get?
Yeah, Yeah.
Opens you up and allows you to breathe.
Yeah.
A bit deeper.
So when I have one of them, I'm like sucking on the sweet or whatever, and my brain's thinking elsewhere, and I'm thinking, this is helping me breathe, and it relaxes me. So I sort of do breathing exercise, but because my chest feels tight, I don't know if anyone out there has had COVID and you've got that sort of tight chest from when you were just walking about or whatever, one of the side effects, but that's probably the best way. Or if you've got a chest infection, you're struggling to breathe, that's the best way to describe it of how I feel. I don't really sort of feel the effects of like, I don't really get palpitations. I don't really have panic attacks, but I have had panic attacks. So I'll sort of talk about that a bit later. Because if you've never had one or you have had one, like if you have had one, you'll know how bad they are. But, you know, you've just got to sort of tell yourself, but sort of back to the subject in hand. So like, it's all about my chest. My chest feels tight around here. And I'm sort of like, right, need to take myself out of the situation. Or I have to like go and take some time out and just do some breathing exercise and I'm good. Sometimes it can literally last a minute or two. Sometimes it can last for days. And I think what I've learned sort of going on is about being open. So when because people can't see anxiety, and that's the scary thing. People can't see it. You can feel it. People can sort of sense there's something wrong with you, but they can't ultimately see the anxiety.
No.
And I think that's a tough thing. And people that know me now, I'm honest, and I've been like, I suffer with anxiety, I'm struggling, or I was having an anxiety attack then, and they're like, really? You didn't show it. Yeah. And that's the scary thing about it is like, if you don't tell anyone, you don't talk about it, if you don't open up to your friends, your GP or whoever it is, you know, to get that support with anxiety, like no one's going to know. And I'm not going to lie, every single person will have dealt with anxiety at some point in their lives. It's like, if you haven't, you're a liar. I'm just going to say that.
Public service announcement by Wesley Gregory.
But, you know, everyone has been anxious about something. It could be something like a job interview.
Yeah.
There's different types of anxiety. There's anxiety in the moment, and there's like feeling anxiety because of things that have happened to you and, you know, past trauma. It could be, you know, things aren't going right in your life and you're anxious about your finances and how you're going to pay your bills and stuff like that. It can be stuff that's happened to you in life, people you've lost, you know, it can be an amalgamation of things. So, but I think for me, like getting back to the point of like anxiety in me, my anxiety stemmed from becoming a dad. And that's a mad thing. And I think the realization is, like, for me, I was never, and I'll vouch for this, I was never an anxious person when I was younger.
No.
And if I was, I never really showed it. And I personally don't think I was. There was no anxiety there. And for me, becoming a dad made me anxious because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the most important person in my life. My daughter was. You know, and that doesn't mean I don't care about anyone around me.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But like,
but I think it's different when you go from that point perspective of your priorities and everything in life changes. You know, you've got living things that are dependent on you to survive, and you're their everything, and that's your responsibility. And it's an awful lot of pressure. I don't think a lot of people probably talk about that in day-to-day life, but it's an awful lot of pressure to be the provider for a family, to have a roof over your head. There's a lot there. Yeah. That we don't really talk about in there.
Yeah.
And that pressure and that on your shoulders when that happens must have been massive.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, like most people, like, you know, when they become a parent, like everything sort of, your whole life changes, not just because you've had a child, but like your social life, who you hang around with, you know, things like that, the friends you see, you know, you don't see them all the time, and, you know, your kids become your be all and end all, you want to better yourself, and there's all that pressure, which causes anxiety. Do you know what I mean? Because like you're anxious because you're like, I want to provide the best for my kid, I want to do this, I want to do that. So for me, that's where it's all stemmed from.
Yeah.
And then as I've sort of gone off into my nursing career, started off as a band 2, I think it was like a support worker or something, not even a nursing assistant. You don't even get the name nursing assistant as a band 2. Shocking, that, isn't it? So anyway, so like started off as a band 2 and I've worked my way up, done my band 4 and about to start my mental health nurse training. And like, that's all done purely for me kids. But the anxiety of like everything going on and doing all these things at one time. And then obviously you've got things that have happened. Like in the last podcast, I talked about losing my friend, you know, and you've got things that hit you like that. And you know, and just normal day-to-day life sort of things as well. Yeah. So, you know, I think recognizing the anxiety, knowing that there are ways to stop it, And for you as an individual, I've been to the doctors in the past. They prescribe propranolol, which is like basically like a beta blocker. So it just slows the heart rate down. So if you feel like you're having a panic attack, just sort of slows everything down. I didn't like that because I'm quite a hypersensitive person with my body. So I can sort of like, I could actually physically feel my heart slowing down.
Really? That probably freaked you out.
Yeah, and that freaks me out more. And I was like, I'd rather have a panic attack than like than like feel this medication working. Do you know what I mean? And like everyone's like, but propranolol might work really well for someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's all depends on the anxiety, you as a person, how you deal with it. The best bit of advice I was given by the doctor, which is funny enough, was just like, just jump on your bike, go for a bike ride, go for a run. I hate running, so I don't do that. Do star jumps, anything just to get going. And there has actually been times where I've just gone, screw this, star jump time, and it's worked. Do you know what I mean? It's mad because it's just that getting that physical movement and just sort of like you just zone out from it because you're not thinking of like, oh, I'm anxious. Why am I anxious? Why am I thinking this? Why do I feel like this? All those sort of questions buzzing around in your brain. You star jumping. And then you're thinking, God, I look like an idiot star jumping.
Yeah.
And it could be anywhere. It could be like you're just out for a walk. And because anxiety doesn't just give you any warnings, it just hits you. It can be like, you could be in the middle of Tesco and it's like anxiety. You could, be watching your favourite team play football or whatever, basketball, whatever, and then anxiety. It just strikes you. You could be watching a TV show, anxiety. So, it's just about, you might look like a bit of a dick doing star jumps in the middle of Tesco. Or any other supermarket. But like, if that works for you and that sorts you out, it doesn't matter, does it? Because like...
Well, was it in Tesco?
Maybe. But, it's whatever works for you. Do you know what I mean? It's like... anyone who suffers with anxiety and suffers with that feeling knows exactly what I'm on about. Do you know what I mean? And to get rid of that feeling, you'd pretty much do anything because it's horrible.
It's horrid feeling,
It consumes you. And... if it doesn't matter if it's a short burst or a long burst, obviously the longer the worse it is, but, it can lead on to other things. Do you know what I mean? It can lead on to depression. It can lead on to like suicidal thoughts. It can lead on to much darker things, even to the point of someone taking their own life because, and that's why it's good to sort of get a handle on anxiety because it can literally just take over and you can't let it.
Yeah.
So, that's my point of view. Yeah. Let's get on to you, Sunshine.
Yeah. So mine is massively stress inflicted. I think my anxiety is brought on when I can't manage my time or too many things go on top of me and I can't manage it and I just lose my shit. It's like four walls boxing in on my head. I'm like I can't see through. I'm stuck in a forest. I can't see through the bushes. I can't see the light of day. I just can't cope. I just break down. I'm just like I can't think. I can't get my mind straight. I can't think or process anything. Happened a lot in a relationship I was in a few years ago because I wasn't getting much time to myself. And it's something that even now, I was speaking as you got here, like I've gotten busy with work and stuff and clients and things, which is great. But I've just been saying to us that it's awesome, but I said my time management needs to be better because I'm not really putting my head above water to get air. I'm just being suffocated because I haven't got enough time in my day to get stuff done. So I need to work on my time management to make sure, I get what I need to get done. But with that, it is knocking me. I'm starting to get anxiety because I've got the stuff I need to get done. I'm not getting it done because I'm so busy and it's impacting everything. So, and the things that I do to help improve that is time management, looking at a schedule, trying to write some down, but also taking me time as well. I make sure that I get times in my day to switch off from life. I did this when I first experienced it like years ago. I think I was close to a panic attack when it happened. I don't think I had a full-on panic attack, but it was very close. You talk about palpitations. I was getting stuff like that as well, where your heart rate is just like going up and down, up and down, up and down. Yeah. And I remember it happened once, and I was on the phone to 999 because I had an Apple Watch at the time, and it's saying to me, "Your heart's going up and down, up and down." It's going fucking mental. I didn't know what the hell to do, but I calmed myself down. I was kind of okay in the end of it. But I think stress has a massive impact on me there. But as I was just saying a minute ago, what I do to cope with that is make sure that I take segments in my day, whether it's half an hour, 45 minutes. As long as I take that time out to myself to completely switch off from life and everything, it relaxes me, it calms me down, and it gets me thinking straight again. So sometimes I'm on the go, I'm stressing. Sometimes I would just stop life, switch off for half an hour completely to myself, and then go again. I'm like, refocus, restructure, and know where I'm going with things. Obviously, I've spoken in the last one about the issues with my mum and stuff and the anxiety that I got from that whole situation. I'd go to the seafront.
Yeah.
I think you got many time a voice note from me from the seafront, because I went there to switch off from life and just take some me time and really reflect and take some me time. That's what I've done more so to tackle it for me, switching off from everything, taking me time. And it really refreshes me. So like even now, I do something actually every day to make sure that I'm okay and that I don't stress, I don't get anxiety. Like before my clients first, I have a client at 7 o'clock in the morning, first thing. And every morning I go and have breakfast on the Southport seafront. And for me, it's important that I get my breakfast and my bits ready. So get that half hour out of my day, first thing set up to the day. And honestly, like that half an hour to me is so precious. And it just makes my day perfect. If I have to rush or I don't get that time to myself, I'm a panicky mess. I'm like anxious. I'm like, feel rushed. I feel like I can't think straight. So taking that little bit of me time out each day at the very start of the day, only half an hour, sets my day up perfectly. And me taking control of that, doing that, means that I know that I'm all right, and that's important to me. So that's how I've kind of counteracted what I felt from stress, anxiety, and the things that I've put into place to make sure that I'm okay. There might be people that I've spoken to that have stress and anxiety, and I say to them, well, do you ever take some you time? The amount of people that always just say no.
I know.
They just don't do it. Like even with my coaching and the clients, just like I did over COVID and stuff, a lot of the things that I process and put in for people when I was trying to get people being fit and healthy and losing weight and stuff, was giving them like a half-hour walk, saying, going outside, putting your phone down, and actually taking some time out for you and switching off from life. The massive positive from doing that, I think, is priceless, and can help you so much.
So, like, I was talking about he never had a full-blown panic attack, but sort of sounds like he did.
Yeah.
So I'll sort of talk about my experience, and then we'll watch the cogs turn in his brain, and we'll see if he sort of agrees.
Yeah.
So I would say I've had two solid panic attacks in my life, and I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. They are horrible. You get this sense of absolute dread. You feel like there's something wrong with you, and you're gonna die. That's like the ultimate feeling there. You get like this rush, but not a good rush. It's like a bad rush. Like everything's like, things start to go numb. You'll get pains. Your heart will be going like a rapid triple kick pedal. Like you'll feel it. You'll look at your Apple Watch. Apple Watches are great, but they're also your worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because they don't give an accurate reading.
No, that's true.
But if you're someone who's anxious at the time and you're looking at your heart rate and you're like, oh my God, it's 130 and I'm just sat here doing nothing, then your heart rate starts to increase. But anyway, so like your heart rate, you'll literally feel like your heart's going to come out your chest. You'll feel faint because you're not getting your breath properly. You'll feel like you're going to drop. It's your left arm in it as well.
Yeah.
It's your left arm, which is a classic sign of heart attack. A lot of it is the same sort of, or cardiac arrest, whatever. You can get a pain in your armpit.
Yeah.
You'll feel like that dull ache in your chest. You'll be full of adrenaline, but it's not all in a good way. You literally, and the worst case scenario is if when you're on your own, makes it worse. You've not got someone to tell you you're all right. You're just having a panic attack.
Yeah.
In your brain, you're thinking, this is it. I've never felt like this before. And even talking about it, I can sort of feel that anxiety about talking about it. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And like, I think one of the times I had to ring 999, I was literally, and it was only a few weeks ago. And I'd not long been for like a blood test. I'd had like my HbA1c and I'd had like my lipids done, and come back that I was like pre-diabetic. Thanks for the chocomellow. And yeah,
I'm a caring friend.
And you know, and that my sort of bloods were a little bit out, and you know, there's and this, that, and the other. So I think naturally a bit anxious about that. And anyway, this like panic attack came on. I was in the house, I was bathing the kids by myself, and a panic attack hit. And the kids looked at me and they knew something was wrong with me. And I was just like, I don't feel good, don't feel right. I felt like I was going to pass out. Literally rang 999. And this is the funny thing, I'm a nurse, know all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. When you're going through that panic attack, you don't think rationally. You think, this is it. I've got my 2 kids in the bath here. I need to ring 999. So like ring 999. Well, you know, ambulance, I think I'm having a heart attack, ringing it through. And then after talking to them for about 60 seconds, I'm like, I'm not having a heart attack, I'm having a panic attack. I feel like an idiot. Mm-hmm. I've wasted 999's time, wasted everybody's time. And then you get anxious about that because you think, what if someone needed that phone call right there? And you start overthinking everything.
Yeah.
And you feel like an absolute idiot. But it was a panic attack. But at the time, there was no one there. You know, my wife come back. What's wrong? You're white as a sheet. I was like, I need to lie down. I've had a panic attack. And it wipes you. You just got no energy, no nothing. You just rest. Because all that anxiety just drains all the energy out of you. It's horrible. So, flip it back onto you. So when you had your sort of panic attack, any of that ring with you?
The one that I rang up with the palpitations?
Yeah.
No. I felt normal.
Yeah.
I felt normal regardless of my heart doing all that. And that's why I rang. But speaking about all that, what I did feel, everything you just described then, was when I tore this bicep around yours. Everything that happened then, I just went into my head. That's why I was tapping my arm to you before.
Yeah. I wondered what you were doing. I thought you were just telling me to say your arm hurts when you have a panic attack.
I just pointing. I'm expecting him to know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about.
But he just doesn't care. No.
But yeah, no, I was at Wes a bit ago and I tore my bicep doing trying to pick up a concrete fencing panel. But everything that happened after that, because I heard the bang, didn't I? So I was panicking because I heard that snap. So I was panicking, thinking I was torn my bicep there.
Yeah.
And ironically, I did. But the panic of that, what I thought was happening, I think increased that situation a lot more. So everything you just described then, literally in a nutshell, is what happened then.
Yeah.
The faintness, the numbness, pins and needles, all that stuff.
Yeah. You went white as a sheet as well.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, sugar.
Yeah.
At the time, because it's like, and luckily you had me and my other mate Fred.
Yeah.
And we were there like, you're okay. You know what I mean? It's all right. And we were telling you, you're having a panic attack. Like, just breathe through it. We're here. You're good. And that's what I mean. When you've got that around you, it's great. But you're not always in a situation where you have
that around you.
You have that around you.
But a double-edged sword of that, the type of person that I am, I get very embarrassed. So when something like that happens, although it's happening and I can't help it, because of the type of person I am, I'm like, I don't want you guys to see this.
Yeah.
I just want to go in a corner and hide away and crack an over because it's more. I'd be harder on myself thinking shit that they're seeing all this shit. I just get embarrassed about that stuff. So even though I'm going through that, I'm harder on myself. Going, I just want it to be okay. I want it to go away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But flip this back. If your friends can't be there at your most vulnerable.
I know. Yeah, I know that.
Do you know what I mean?
I know. But I think that's just been always thing with me. I'm always I don't do well with sympathy or anything like that. I'm very like, let me cry and die in a corner alone. No one sees it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Yeah. Okay. So obviously I talked a little bit about panic attacks there. Did you, cause I remember obviously talking about your last instance there, that panic attack you had, because you literally voice noted me 1 or 2 days before that. Yeah. And you was high as a kite.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah. I think as well, like, it's, like I said, anxiety. It's a mysterious and weird beast. It
comes in
because you can literally be like top of the world for like 2 days. Everything's going great, brilliant, and then boom.
Yeah, literally
the famous Eminem line: "Snap back to reality, whoop, there goes gravity." Do you know what I mean? It's boom, it's there, and you're thinking, I've just had 2 amazing days of just going out and seeing people and spending time with my kids and making memories, and then why the hell do I feel like this?
Amazing holiday, hadn't you?
Yeah, like.
But I think that's quite empowering to share, though. I think it's important to share that 1 minute you can be great and fun, but then it only takes a second for that to drop and for it to completely change.
That's it, and that's the scary thing is you know in the back of your mind you're always thinking, when's me next? When's my next one? When's my next drop? You know what I mean?
Which is ironically, you're probably getting a bit anxious about being anxious. You know what I mean? You don't want it to happen. Yeah. It's not a nice feeling.
Exactly, and I know how much it can impact me and sort of control me and things like that. But I've definitely learned that, like, even when I'm in work, like, and I'm feeling anxious, I'll turn around to my staff. I'll turn around to my nurse, and I'll be like, I'm feeling anxious. I just need a minute.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And sort myself out, and I'm good. Whereas if I bottle it up, I'm hiding it for however long it lasts, and then not being able to focus properly because I'm just like, distraction's good because that's one way to get rid of it. But like when it's just buzzing around in your brain constantly, it's tough. Do you know what I mean? And
so here's a question for you. So when you have an anxiety attack, do you feel like it's a release? So when you have an anxiety attack, do you feel like there's something that's there deep within that's causing that trigger? And do you feel that once you've had that attack, even though it's a traumatic thing to go through, after that, do you feel relieved? Do you feel like something's been lifted?
Yeah, I mean, like, when you come out the other end of it, you're like, oh, thank God that's over.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
without a doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you are, but I think with me is because, like, it can literally last for, like, a couple of minutes to
a few days.
Could be a few days. I mean, I could go sometimes be anxious from the second I wake up to, like, maybe have an hour or two. What's a thing I've noticed about myself as well, which is quite mad, is when I eat, I don't feel anxious. So that's a mad thing. So, like, if I'm eating my tea, I don't feel, or I'm out and I'm eating, I'll eat, and the anxiety will disappear for the time I'm eating the meal. And then I'll realise, oh, I don't feel anxious, so I'm anxious again. It's like a vicious circle. It's mad. So there's all these, like, little things that I've noticed. But I think, yeah, I mean, I dread it when I'm feeling it, but I'm sort of, like, at the same time, I'm just like, it'll be over soon. Do you know what I mean? But it all depends on what's happening. Like, if it's a case of, like, I've got like 3 days in work, then I'm like, oh, shit, I don't want this to last 3 days while I'm in work, you know, and the environment that I'm in doesn't help at times as well, working in mental health, because that can be tough.
It's a stressful environment,
yeah,
isn't it?
It's a very stressful environment, you know, it's physically and mentally tough. And I've always said the irony of working in mental health is the mental health of the people who like work there. That's the mad irony of it all. But, like, I think if I'm off for 2 days, then my anxiety it'll manifest in a way where it'll be like shut off from the world. So I'll be like, I'm pretty much like you. If I'm like anxious, I'm like, I don't want to be around people. Even though probably being around those people would help massively. I'm like, I don't want them to see the flawed me. I don't want them to see I can't be bothered to do this. I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, if I've made plans with some people, I might cancel them because I'm just like, I can't be dealing with feeling like this and then pretending everything's okay. Or I don't want to worry them because they're going through stuff and this, that, and the other. So you've got all these conflicting battles. But, like, if you don't talk about things, then you don't solve the problem, do you?
You don't. And I think it's quite important that I think it would be nice for people to more do, instead of saying, cancelling, being a bit more, because you've been a bit more open with me in the past when you cancel things, because you say you've been struggling with your anxiety. It's nice to say, hey, I'm cancelling not because I don't want to, but I'm struggling with anxiety today. I'm struggling with this today. And it helps the person on the receiving end understand a little bit further, especially if it's something that you suffer with. As we said, you know, being guys as well, the guys don't be open up about this stuff enough, and that's the whole purpose of doing this. Not just for guys. Women are just important, obviously, but guys tend to not talk enough. So the more we talk about these things, the more open we are, the better these things will get, which is what the idea is. And we were talking just before we hopped on about the impact of fitness and training has it on your anxiety as well. And you were saying a minute ago about
Star jumps at Tesco.
Star jumps at Tesco. So do you feel like getting a frequent gym routine in would definitely help your anxiety?
Yeah, definitely. But, like, you know, anxiety is linked into lots of things. It's linked into depression. It's linked into other mental health things.
Jump into in a minute.
Yeah, and I think it's like, all well and good. You know, fitness is good. We'll help you. We'll sort your brain out. We'll get rid of that anxiety. But it's having the motivation to do that. It's having the this will make a difference and that will do it. And, you know, that's part and parcel of it. So, you know, I agree with you. But at the same time, I know myself and I know how I think. Yeah. And I'm like, I've got all the goodwill intention in the world. But, like, on my days off, I'll be like, you've got to cram so much in. And I'll be like, me personally, I'd rather come and see someone than go to the gym. I'd rather go in, I'd rather do something, and do you know what I mean, than do that. But it's about, like you said, it's about getting that time in where you're walking, going for a walk and taking that time out for yourself. It doesn't matter. You don't have to go and smash 2 hours at the gym. It's finding that bit of exercise. Doesn't matter what it is, if it's kicking a ball, if it's playing with your kids, if it's going for a walk, it doesn't matter what it is, you know.
So it's interesting because the strongman I had on last week, he spoke about that he gets anxiety from going to the gym because there's so much because he's competed. There's so much expectation on him to be lifting particular weights and to have a particular strength.
Yeah.
That even though your fitness is a good health space for a lot of people, which it is, undoubtedly, for some individuals, i.e., you know, people that are in like the strongman sport or athletes, that itself brings anxiety for them because there's an expectation for them to perform on a particular level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's nuts. Just thought I'd just chuck that in there.
Yeah, no, it's completely relevant because you would like just putting it in black and white terms. If you've got someone who is a strong man, you'd expect them to be a strong man.
Exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or a strong woman. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever. So you know, it's I get it, and that just shows you, doesn't it? You can have a strong man who suffers with anxiety.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's not.
No, exactly.
It can be anyone, and at the least, you know, there'll be loads of people you'll look at every day. They'll be suffering with anxiety. You won't have a clue.
Yeah.
And that like I said, like, you know, like at the very beginning, you know, that's the scary thing about anxiety.
Yeah.
It affects everyone in different ways, and it's
does.
invisible.
And obviously it links to depression too. Because obviously if you get anxiety, and it can then make you not want to do anything at all.
Yeah, I can totally vouch for that. Like, I've had days where I've had like 2 or 3 days. I could have had like 2 days off work. Great, 2 days away from work. Right, I can do so much time. I can do so much things in that time. My kids are in school, so I've got some time to myself. I can catch up with people, this, that, and the other. Boom, anxiety. Boom, don't want to see anyone. Don't want to do anything. And it's a vicious circle, and it does sort of take its toll on you, and you just, you know, like I'll say for myself, like, I'm a massive gamer, love me gaming. Like, I went for a month, like I was having a pretty bad month with anxiety. I think work was pretty full on. There was other factors going on around at the time, and like I was just an anxious mess all the time, and that's when I had like that big panic attack. So that was probably just a build up of all the anxiety that was going on that month. And yeah, I didn't even touch my PlayStation for the whole month. I literally would turn it on, sit there with the controller and just be like, I can't be bothered. And like, that's never happened to me before. That was like the red flag in my brain was like, something wrong here. And I'm quite a strong-willed person where like, I don't want antidepressants. I don't want anything like that. Obviously, people are antidepressants. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I'm just like, no. Yeah, like I can sort of get through this, and I think you've just got to sort of take a look at your own life, and you sort of look at all the positive things in your life, and you think, well, I've got a roof over my head, I've got a good job, I've got 2 wonderful kids, I've got a beautiful wife, you know, I've got friends that are around there that support me, that I can talk to about anything, and you know, so I'm quite blessed and lucky. But even with all that stuff, that's the fun thing about depression. You don't see it all.
No.
You don't see it all. You know you've got it all.
Yeah.
But you're in it, and you sort of wallow in your own self-pity in a way, and it's sort of hard to sort of dig yourself out. And especially like with all the anxiety sort of trumpeting around it as well, it can be quite dark. People have done things. People have, you know, taken their lives and things like that. And that's the scary thing, because, you know, after COVID, like with COVID happening, a lot of people were stuck indoors. It was quite scary times, you know, and things have sort of spiraled from that. Do you know what I mean? You've got people who probably went out all the time, and then they've been closed off for 2 years and not seen people. And then you've got that social anxiety of socializing again and being out in open spaces. Like for me, I can't think of anything worse than going to like a kid's indoor play area now. Never used to really bother me.
No.
But like it bothered me, but I could plow on through it. Whereas now, like I was like, I need to get out for 5 or 10 minutes just to escape it, because there's just so many people, so much noise, so many things going on, and it never bothered me. Yeah. So, you know, there's all these like little things that happen now, like, you know, and yeah, society's got back to a sort of normal state, but those anxieties haven't all gone away for everyone. No. You know, you still see people wearing masks because they're anxious that people have got COVID, they're going to get it and they're going to die. Do you know what I mean? So you still see that. Still see people, not very much so much now, but you still see it, don't you?
You do.
And you know, I just think there's so many things with anxiety, and then, you know, you're anxious about things, and like I said, it just spreads to depression, and that's my own sort of personal view on it and how I've felt over the last couple of weeks, but I've come out of it. But that's not to say like I won't go back into it.
No. And also, so I want to interject, and then want you to finish your point first. There's a on the news this last week. There's I think it was 30,000 kids that have been, I think, calling into school sick because of anxiety. I mean, we're not really truthfully seeing yet the true effects of it. Still, even to this day, to COVID. I think we're just starting to see more now, but massive impact on kids, for being cut off from the world for such a long period of time, being everything done from their home, and this is going to have massive impacts on kids as they get older, on that generation that was there during COVID, and it's quite scary, really.
That's it. I mean, you got to think pretty much most kids lost 2 years of their life.
Yeah.
School life, me and you had, you take it for granted, don't you?
Yeah, of course you do.
If you're skived, you're skived. These kids had no choice, and even the ones that were kids are key workers, it wasn't really school.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It was, and it's going to cause all sorts of anxieties for, I think more so the ones that had just started school, because they've literally lost out on the first 2 years, and the ones that were sort of leaving. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Towards the end, so the likes of your year 5s, your year 6s, your year 10s, your year 11s, you go back to high school. I know everyone's experience is different, but your year 10 and year 11, that's where you mature the most, and you're working towards your exams and things like that, and you got to think what sort of social factors and anxieties that has caused them for,
Massively. And also, I mean, obviously things were being chucked around this killing virus that was about kids being told this, been hearing of this, and the news and everything. And, it's damaging, massively damaging. But going back into the depression thing, I think I suffered a little bit when I was younger as well. I think when I was bigger, I was video game, didn't I?
Yeah.
A whole lot. And I did that as an escape. I was embarrassed about the way I looked. People did treat me differently, and because of that, I just hid away from the world. So instead of coming to terms with my issues and dealing with them, I just shut myself off from the world. And I guess that can be probably seen as a type of depression, can't it? I guess because I didn't really deal with the situation. I just closed myself off from the world, and that's relative to a lot of other things. As you were saying before about when you're feeling anxious about doing anything, you don't want to do anything. You just want to stay in and stay away from the world, and just
it's like you're safe. Bubble, isn't it?
Yeah, your safe haven.
Wow.
But ironically, through staying in and doing nothing, staying in, it's not solving or helping the situation. So you got to think if you didn't work or anything, or if that was your space, you can understand how someone that if they're just homebound could just end up being in for 4 weeks, blink of an eye, and not go anywhere because not really getting any exterior help, are they?
No.
And then obviously that can then, as you said before, that can go into towards suicidal thoughts.
And I think that's the scary thing, it's like all things, there's a starting point and there's an ending point, and, anxiety, like I said, can lead on to different things and affect you in different ways, and that's why it's good to sort of talk about how to manage it and how it affects you, and
so where would you say to go for? So if someone that was suffering with anxiety, obviously in your profession and stuff like that, where would you recommend people to go?
So I think the main thing is you just raise it, like anything. If it doesn't matter if it's anxiety, if it's depression, if it's any sort of mental health issue, you raise it. So you raise it with someone who you feel is going to listen to you, someone who's who you feel comfortable talking to. And if it's taken over your life, and you feel like it is, and it's impacting you that much, then you go to your GP, have a chat with them. I don't know how hard it is to get into your GP these days.
It's not the easiest, I think.
It's not the easiest, but that unfortunately that's the route.
Maybe even 111. Would 111 can they do anything?
I mean,
I don't even know.
Probably,
to be fair,
probably not.
No,
I think it's more local. It's not really seen as an emergency sort of medical issue, is it? Unless, obviously, like I said, you're having a full-blown panic attack and it can feel like a heart attack.
I mean, in argument's sake, if you're feeling suicidal...
Yeah, well, that's different, isn't it? You bring Samaritans, there's plenty of numbers out there to ring, and there's plenty of charities out there to sort of contact with that. But I think, but even if you were feeling suicidal, there'd still be a GP.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or... depending on how instant it was going to be, if you felt like it was imminent and you were going to do something and you're scared, then you just go to A&E and you present there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's if you're going to do something, you're going to do something. But GP mainly, and then they can talk about it. Then you can look at sort of CBT. So, talking about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And you can be put on medication and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can be put on medication. And there's plenty of things sort of over the counters you can buy to see if that works. But yeah,
but as you said, everyone's different, aren't they? And
everybody is different. Some people are very anti-medication.
Yeah.
Some people are very anti-therapy.
Yeah.
But there's always a reason why you're anxious. And I think until you find out that reason, that's the tough bit. Because I've still not, as much as I think it's down to being a parent and worrying, there's other things going on with me that I'll probably talk about like in another podcast when things like happen.
Yeah.
I think like when I get the answers I need, that'll probably help a fair bit. But like I said, I think everyone has their own sort of issues or problems in life, and like until you realise what they are, what's causing it. Sometimes there is no cause, but usually there's some underlining thing there that is the reason why you're anxious.
Yeah.
So like until you find out that reason.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, you can make sense of it, and that's going to help.
Yeah, I think it can be in depth, it can be a trauma, it can be something big, or it can uniquely be something small that you do in your day-to-day, that in your work or anything. It can be anything, can't it?
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part with it, but then just obviously learning how to deal with that. And some people obviously would turn to drugs to deal with that.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's a blocker.
It is, yeah.
You take drugs, you drink alcohol. You don't feel that way anymore.
It doesn't it?
It masks it,
yeah.
But a mask only lasts so long.
It does, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like anything. If you abuse anything, it's going to ruin you. If you abuse cake, it's going to kill you.
You're going to put on a few pounds, yeah?
Do you know what I mean?
It's true.
If you abuse water, you're going to drown.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if it's a drug or it's food or whatever you abuse, like I said, I feel less anxious when I eat. But if I eat all the time, it's not going to be a good.
It's not. No, you're going to be a bit bigger.
So, yeah, exactly. So, as much as it's great, and I recognise that, like, that's like the most important part of my day when I'm having an anxious day is like, I can't wait to have like something proper, and for 20 minutes, I'm not going to feel anxious. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I couldn't do that all the time.
No.
Because I just make myself ill.
No.
And that's the things with drugs. People will use drugs as an escapism because it doesn't make them feel that way anymore. And it's not exactly, it's a short-term fix, not a long-term fix.
Yeah.
So like I said, until you get that, like, either the right medication or the right support or the right therapy.
Yeah. It is good to ask to get the help for these things, but I think it's still a challenge to help people to find the right route. Yeah. To help to where they want to get to. As I said to you before we started recording, I said to you, the big thing I want to shout about is that people that are on drugs or addicts and things, that people have a perceived perception of these individuals, and people think that these are bad people that just get stuck on these drugs, and they think that they're just addicts in retrospect. Yeah. But I definitely said to open my head speaking to people I've spoken to lately, that 9 times out of 10, it's not because they're an addict and looking for a fix. It's because they're trying to mask something. It's because they're going through something like anxiety, depression. There's something deeper there that they're trying to cover.
Yeah.
And it's that understanding and attacking that to help people get into a better place, to get out of the need to want to use these drugs for those reasons, and dive in deeper. And for a lot of those people that they haven't got the help or haven't got the realization to get that help, the quick fix is reaching to a drug. Yeah. Having some alcohol.
I'm not being funny. It's easier to go and find, Joe Blogg's cocaine man than it is to get a GP appointment. And that's a sad fact of life right now.
It is, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's easier. It's easier to go out and get drugs than it is to go and get help.
Yeah.
That's the sad reality we live in. Do you know what I mean? There is help out there, and it's not all useless, but it is. That's the sad reality. Yeah. Isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We only hope that gets better throughout time.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. I think have we covered everything?
I've never covered everything. I could go on forever and ever.
Are we missing anything out that you'd want to get into?
Not that I can think of, to be honest.
I think we've covered all bases, really, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, this is part 2 of 16, isn't it? So
well,
it's all good.
yeah.
Joke.
60 maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of things we can hop into.
Yeah.
But I think this is enough for obviously speaking about anxiety.
Yeah.
But I think we've covered our bases here. As we said, I think the most important thing is, it's only a Google away. You can Google, mental health people. There's websites out there, people that you can call and speak to. Whereas myself, if you know us personally, I had a phone call with someone last week that I had a little chat with that was struggling a little bit. And it's just reaching out to these people. I think you reach out to anyone, 9 out of 10 people will make time for anyone.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, speaking of which, I know we just said we're going to wrap this up, but it's not happening now because I've got something whizzing around in my brain.
Go.
So, one of your followers from America contacted me.
Yeah.
And, and had a little chat with her, and it just sort of shows, how we can impact people. I don't know this person, live the other side of the world, but, because they know what I do, what I'm about, they've asked me for advice. This isn't to do with anxiety or depression or anything. This is just for some advice with just mental health things. And it's mad how I could give them advice and give them help and give them closure and sort of support them in any way, shape or form. Do you know what I mean? It's bonkers. And I think that's the important thing is, we're all strangers, but, you can help anybody. Yeah. It doesn't have to be your friends, your family or whatever. There's loads of people out there that need support and help and just need a chance and someone to talk to. And sometimes just having that chat can make a massive difference. And I think that's something important, especially with anxiety, depression, billions of people in this world, and you walk past people every day. You don't know what anybody's going through, how anybody's feeling, and you can be there for anybody if you want to be. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Bit deep to end.
No, at all. It's reaching out. I walked past someone in town the other day that I messaged and said, this individual looked upset, and I sent a message to say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Because again, it's just when people look a bit down, look a bit, and if you're conscious and aware of that, just sending a message to someone at that point, they may, they're probably more than likely going to say, "No, yeah, I'm fine."
Yeah.
But then you don't know that one time you message someone and actually, "No, I'm not all right. Have you got 5 minutes?"
Yeah.
That could be a massive effect and impact for someone and helps them massively. So just be aware and just be prepared to listen, I think. Is a key to take homes, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what always gets me through as well when I'm really anxious is I always think so there's always someone out there who's got it worse than you.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that as well.
And I think that's how you sort of drag yourself back into reality, innit?
Yeah.
And I always think like I talked about earlier, all the things I do have, there's people who've got nothing and they're just cracking on with life, dragging buckets of water miles on their head every morning just so they can have a drink. No, but it's true.
Yeah, it is true.
You think it's funny.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, you know what I mean? And I'm complaining about anxiety.
Yeah.
And, you've got people out there living in absolute the worst places in the world.
You have, yeah.
You know what I mean? And because you're not in it, you don't see it. You're in your own bubble. You're in your own world, And I think sometimes you just got to remind yourself out of that. And it does make you feel a bit better because you think, God, I have got it so fucking good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So,
true.
Yeah.
Philosophical. Finish off on a circle. So that's us. That's anxiety wrapped off. So do it again, as I always say. Give us a follow, give us a comment, let us know what you thought of this one. Your input is valuable to us. If what you would like us to cover on the next one with Wesley on here, jumping into some more mental health subjects and for some more sat down chats with more interesting kinds of different fluids for future podcasts. So anything else you want to add, Wes? Or
No, that's it. I actually promised this time. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. Okay. You can just cut it dead now.
We're good. Yeah. So thank you for listening, guys. Truly appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one soon. You take care. And that's a wrap.